Welcome to Islamic Life Coach School podcast. Apply tools that you learn in this podcast and your life will be unrecognizably successful. Now your host, Dr. Kamal Akhtar.
Hello everyone. Peace and blessings be upon all of you. It is with great enthusiasm that I want to welcome you back to the Islamic Life Coach School podcast. I am so excited that you could join me today because today I'm going to dive into something incredibly fascinating. And I've been working on this topic again for a while now, but just trying to optimize my way for delivering this information. I find this topic extremely fascinating and life-changing. So I hope you're holding on to your hats. Today we're talking about the Polyvagal Theory and your self-regulation. This theory will help you create amazing change in your life. And if it sounds too scientific, don't worry about it because I'm going to break it down and explore it exactly how to better understand your life, your reactions, and your responses in daily situations. So the Polyvagal Theory was first put forth by Dr. Stephen Porges in about 1994, and this is rather recent. This theory beautifully explains the mind-body unity. Polyvagal theory is a game changer when it comes to understanding the intricate link between your mind and your body. This theory revolutionized the way we perceive the relationship between our nervous system and our emotional experiences. So while people like Descartes separated the mind and the body, it wasn't until recently that the scientific community started looking at it as a whole. For the longest time, the mind-body unity was considered a part of the Eastern tradition, and it mostly still is majority of the time. But the recent wave of change is towards understanding both as a whole, and the Polyvagal Theory played a major role in repairing this damage because it offers scientific evidence. So this is a very powerful concept. The Polyvagal Theory describes how our autonomic nervous system responds to the cues in our environment. It's a bit like your GPS. When you're driving, your GPS assesses the traffic, the roadblocks, and it helps you navigate. Simply, Polyvagal Theory is about how your body, which is your inner GPS, evaluates safety and danger and influences your reactions. So simply speaking, you can consider the autonomic nervous system to be the automatic nervous system. And the main character at play in this automatic nervous system is the vagus nerve. And don't be fooled with the word nerve. When you think of a nerve, you think of a skinny little neuron, something that you can only observe under a microscope. But vagus nerve is like a giant oak tree in the body. It is a massive nerve. It is actually classified as a cranial nerve, meaning it starts in the brain and passes through the skull to go to the rest of your body, but it goes to multiple bodily organs. Vagus actually means wandering, and in that essence, they call it wandering because they found the vagus nerve to be going to the gut, the heart, the throat, and it collects information from environments and acts as the brain of the body. So consider brain that's in your head, in your skull, and then there's a brain that's in your body. After this, I'll describe a concept of neuroception. What does that mean? It basically means perception without awareness. Like you can see an apple, and that is your perception, because your conscious reception is saying that I see an apple through my eyes, process it in the visual cortex, and your memory of other apples makes it match and tells you that you're looking at an apple. But neuroception is below this conscious awareness, meaning the information is being gathered at the body's level. Neuroception is an extremely effective and automatic way of gathering information. It's a neural process of evaluating risk in the environment and adjusting our physiological response to it. It helps us deal with potential risks, all subconsciously. This mechanism scans the environment for danger and safety, and it's doing it continuously without us noticing. So neuroception and autonomic response happens at the body's level below conscious thinking. And this level of data gathering is the function of the vagus nerve. Neuroception is happening all the time, but it only comes to awareness when we pay attention to it. Like when you sense your toddler walked away in a crowded theme park, there is a science behind it. When they say that moms have eyes in the back of their heads, it's because your body senses at the level of neuroception that something is happening, and you pay attention to it through your motherly instincts. You pay attention to that uneasy feeling in the body. Then you bring it to your awareness that something has gone wrong. And then your alertness engages. And then you see your toddler chasing a bird in the other direction. This all, of course, happening within seconds. But it starts at the body's level. So that flow of information from subconscious and conscious is ever present, always happening. That's why if you're responsible for a hyper child and you're responsible for their safety, it becomes exhausting because you always have to bring it into your awareness, the possibility of something bad happening. And that level of awareness involves your prefrontal cortex. That's the most energy consuming part of your brain. So then so far we discussed polyvagal theory, vagus nerve as the main character, neuroception as the main process. Now I'm going to tell you about the 3 main states that are part of this nervous system. And these states are better visualized if you think of a ladder, which has top, middle, and bottom sections. These states are hierarchical in nature and each is associated with a certain emotional state. Topmost level of this hierarchy is called the social engagement level. This is our body's understanding of safety. This is when you feel calm in someone else's presence. You feel calm when they are calm. You feel grounded when they are even keel and grounded. Your body senses safety and this automatic nervous system sends cues of safety to yourself. It tells you it's okay to relax, there's no threat there. This state is where human beings thrive. They grow, they explore, they contribute, they make connections. And of course, this name, social engagement, implies when you are connecting with others in a social situation. But that in itself is a limiting view, because the same system of safety is engaged when you are in a state of khushu in your salah, when you are calm and connected in your prayers with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same system is engaged when you are connected in your dua. This is a signal of safety. These moments are to be cherished and memorized because this is a blessing of Allah, divinely ordained way of human beings to be able to regulate themselves through social connections or through this connection to Allah. And this is an indispensable tool to help your body understand safety and for you to recreate safety on your own. So this was the topmost level. Then there is the middle level of the ladder. This is where fight and flight lives. This is a mobilized state. This is if you are in a heated discussion with your spouse and you notice your voice getting louder and your heart beating faster. This is the state you're in. This is your fight and flight kicking in. Anytime you need to engage your defenses, become engaged enough to be on the offensive, this system will come online. This is a high energy state and is actually not regulated by the vagus nerve. This is regulated by the sympathetic nervous system. Then you have the lowermost stage of the ladder, which is the freeze state, like playing possum, playing dead in the face of danger or under pressure. So this is a state if you're in a chronic, overwhelmed, or burnt out state from pressure of work. This state gets engaged and it renders you incapable of dealing with any more stress. This is when you've burnt out your fight and flight system and you have no more energy left. All you can do is crawl up in bed and bury yourself under a blanket. In this state, even if you wanted to, you couldn't mobilize yourself. All you can do is immobility, rest, hide, lights off, no engagement. This is the bottommost part of the autonomic hierarchy. Part of the vagus nerve is responsible for this state. This happens, for example, if you went to the dentist and instead of cleaning, he also offered you that you need x-rays. And after reviewing the x-rays, he told you that you need all of your wisdom teeth extracted. It's possible that at the news of this, your freeze system becomes online. You're scared of the pain. You don't have dental insurance. You don't know where the funds will come from. If you were to become angry, that would have been your flight system. But through freeze system, it would be that you mentally check out. The dentist would be standing there blabbering about all the benefits of why this needs to be done, while you intellectually cannot gather any of this information and you have no idea what he's saying because all of the rest of the systems have shut down. This is almost a state of paralysis, and all energy is going into just keeping the vital systems of the body functioning. Higher level of thinking, understanding, comprehension, all of that goes offline. So if you find yourself trying to focus on what the dentist is saying, but you don't seem to understand, You seem to have forgotten plain English. You are in a possum freeze state. This is the bottommost level of the hierarchy. None of these states are good or bad. All of them are created for some benefit that they can provide. And you are always either moving up or down in this hierarchical system, on this ladder of states. You are never just stuck in one level. So far a recap. Polyvagal theory that combines mind and body using scientific explanations, vagus nerve that is a giant nerve in the body, neuroception that is the automatic level of perception through your body's level, and the three main states of this nervous system. How is this level of scientific knowledge supposed to help me, you might be wondering? And that is where this podcast comes in. It took me all of this time to lay this foundation just to be able to tell you how you can help yourself in real life situation, how you can use this knowledge to self-regulate. And with any scientific knowledge, it does not prove itself useful unless we can use it to benefit ourselves, others, or above all, to create a close connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Based on this information, your job is to recognize these states and navigate between them effectively using your conscious mind. I realize the automatic nervous system implies that it is happening to you automatically. So it's not like you can stop it from happening. And yes, you are right. You can't stop the initial reaction of the nervous system from happening because it is outside of your control by definition. But you can bring each state into awareness and consciously decide if you want to stay there or not. Remember, our goal isn't to avoid the fight and flight or freeze state, but to understand and navigate between them better. All of this is to be considered as a part of your emotional protective layer. Polyvagal theory isn't just a concept, it's a lived experience. It's the tension you feel when your in-laws visit, and the peace you feel when you hear the adhan, and the adrenaline rush you experience when you're running late for a meeting. While I love the role of this theory, I do believe the details of it are mostly for the scientific community. What I told you is just for foundational purposes. If you want to go beyond that, there is so much more you can learn. But how I am translating it for you here puts you in the driver's seat. It helps you take control of your life using this scientific knowledge. And you take the role as a self-regulatory body. Your primary job remains to be in the recognition state and to be able to label which one of these three states you're experiencing at any moment and to recognize it without judgment of it. This equips you to better handle your reactions because this is the understanding of the roadmap of emotional responses. Next time you're in a stressful situation, you can take a moment, recognize what state you're in, and remember that your body is just trying to protect you. And then just utilize language of your thoughts to navigate in and out of your state. Do you want to stay in that state? Is it helping you? Do you want to respond differently? Use this understanding as a tool to navigate the situation. As Muslim women, we all have the strength and wisdom to use these methods to our benefit. And just for our ease of understanding, this automatic nervous system is like a built-in radar, ceaselessly detecting risks through a process called neuroception and continuously looking to just take protective action. This happens beneath our consciousness. Yet, when we intentionally tune in to these radar signals, we add the perception to the neuroception. And this is where the magic lies. It's like flipping a switch from being controlled to being in control. This newfound observer role allows us to interrupt the old, potentially harmful patterns and come in with the new, reflective patterns. Instead of blindly following our survival instincts, we can create a more comforting sense of security and practice self-compassion and choose from a more resourceful state. When I talk about recognizing these states, I am talking about the same observational capacity that I emphasize so much in this podcast. This is the state of metacognition, being able to think about your thinking, being able to observe your feelings and behaviors. So consider all of these states when you've done so much, you're tired and you just don't want to get out of bed. You wish you could sleep for days and you wish you could just disappear. This is the freeze or possum state. This is also the state when people-pleasing comes in, fawning just to avoid rejection. Start to notice when you're in this level of state and give yourself time to recover. What about an example of a situation when you feel butterflies in your stomach when you're about to deliver a presentation? Again, this is your vagus nerve at work. Depending on how many presentations you've given, you'll have a mastery of how to deal with these butterflies to some level. Someone can be deathly afraid of these situations and be completely averse to any kind of visibility in front of a crowd. And someone else could observe the sensations, understand that nothing truly life-threatening is happening, and continue to monitor their reactions through the presentation and mindfully guide their behavior. Both of these people will experience these sensations before going in front of the audience, because that's your body's survival mechanism. But one has not mastered how to handle these autonomic sensations, and the other one has. Because this autonomic nervous system generates safety and danger cues from the body, it is good to remember that it's not a one-way street. Your mind always possesses the ability to influence the state of your body. When you consciously bring your awareness to your physiological responses, you can engage your consciousness, your thought processes, to regulate between these states. Like if you sense panic setting in before a meeting, slow, deep breaths to control the vagus nerve is a super effective method. In this case, you're effectively engaging the ventral branch of your vagus nerve through the control of your breathing. This can lead to a sense of calm and safety, turning down the alarm bells in your body. In other words, your mental state, the mastery you have on your mind, will help you regulate your bodily responses. To me, Polyvagal Theory offers a profound insight into your unity of mind and body. It fundamentally changes how we understand the approach of our well-being. By tuning into your body's cues, you develop a more bidirectional relationship. This leads to a deeper sense of control over these automatic processes. So now I want to describe where the Polyvagal Theory falls short in my opinion. And I have a list of these shortcomings. Number one is thinking of your autonomic nervous system to be at the mercy of your environmental cues. Meeting time causes butterflies. Thinking of it as just a radar means information coming from outside in. But if you think of this nervous system as assessing your environment, then you become more in control, compared to if you believed that the environment was causing your nervous system's response. Because the environment is not in your control. Your nervous system is in your control. Even if it is an automatic response of the nervous system, it is still in your control through the power of observation. If you consider your nervous system as simply a receiver of external stimulus, you may feel that you're at the mercy of your surroundings. But if you shift your perspective to understand that your nervous system is actively interpreting and giving meaning to your environment, you gain a sense of control. While you can never control your environment, you can influence your nervous system's responses after they have gone through the stage of being automatic. And this again through the power of mindful observation. Rather than thinking of your nervous system as merely a radar, passively receiving information from the outside world, consider it as playing an active role in interpreting and assigning meaning to your environment. This perspective provides a better sense of autonomy over your responses. Okay, then comes the second shortcoming. Again, in my humble opinion, Polyvagal Theory doesn't say anything about how to deal with these lower ladder states that feel horrible in the body. When you are feeling afraid or mentally exhausted, you can try and reason yourself out of the emotional state. But your autonomic nervous system, by way of neuroception, can always override that. So up until now, you might have been trying to debate or think your way out of an emotional state. But this way, the state just gets stronger. This is where somatic work plays an extremely important role. This is where the processing of an emotion is an extremely helpful skill. So the way to overcome this state is not through thinking and overthinking or being analytical about all of this knowledge that you've gained. It's about you breaking down emotions in its components, processing it, digesting it, making room for it, moving into the discomfort, and not resisting it. If you're trying to intellectualize your response through the knowledge you've gained in this podcast, you will still be trying to escape it at your body's level. But if you escape it, the neuroception engages even harder and sends worse danger cues. So what you actually have to do is just remember that there is nothing actually dangerous happening. Your emotions were created for your protection. And when they arise, you remember that nothing has gone wrong and there is a message behind them. Your automatic nervous system might be creating them, but your intentional nervous system can be used to master them. Neuroception is at the level of a circumstance, meaning it is factual. When otherwise what I have taught you through this podcast is any level of thinking is at the thought line. That is something that is in your control. But just through the definition that we don't have control over our automatic responses makes it factual, even if the response is coming through our nervous system. Neuroception is at play when you feel calm in nature or calm around your family or in your acts of prayers. Neuroception in itself is beautiful because it takes the effort of thinking out of the picture and it makes it effortless. Everything received at the level of neuroception does not have to be brought into consciousness. Only the patterns that are rendering you unable to move forward or creating obstacles when you're trying to live a life of your dreams, only those patterns need to be brought into perception. So I'm going to give you a heartfelt example. Like if you lost a loved one, and every time you see their belongings, it reminds you of them at the body's level. One way you can interpret this is in a way of healing grief, that you lost somebody that you loved. But another way your mind can interpret this body signal is in a level of debilitating sadness, where you actually slip into dysfunction. That would be the time to bring that neuroception into perception and heal it. Or another example might be that if you were in a car accident, and your heart starts to race at the sight of a car or every time you think of taking a highway, that would be the time to heal it from inside out. That would be the time to put effort in this otherwise effortless neuroception process, just so you can move on with your life. The beginning most step of this journey is to label your emotions. Which state do you think you fit in best at any given point? And accept it for what it is, and just curiously ask yourself, is this state serving me a purpose? Did it serve a purpose at any point and now it doesn't anymore? States of chronic stress, fight and flight, and chronic hiding is what we need to bring our conscious attention to. Because if you think you don't have a choice in coming out of them, you are wrong. You actually do have a choice. You can move up the ladder in the state of safety using your thought patterns. Because all of your thoughts are optional, so why not choose them wisely? So then, number 3, the third shortcoming in this theory, with my humble opinion. Neuroception is thought to be happening in response to a live stimulus, like the situation is unfolding in front of us in real life. For example, you're at a coffee shop and the barista treats you unfairly because of your skin color or because of your choice of your clothing. And you immediately make it mean that you're being discriminated against. But this is not a conscious thought. This is being responded to at the body's level. And you feel anger through neuroception. And this anger happens way before you ever get to realize what you are making the situation mean. In this case, your fight system is already engaged and you give the barista a piece of your mind. That's a level of neuroception based on the clues of the environment. But a part of neuroception is also happening when you are still angry long after the situation is over, on the car ride home, or every time you think about that coffee shop. If you are reliving the experience by recreating the same scene in your mind, you will continue to recreate the same anger response, even when you are nowhere near that place. You're triggering the alarm system over and over again. This is you regenerating the scene with your intelligent mind and regenerating the feeling of anger. Neuroception happens from the clues of the environment, like the barista treating you a certain way, but the regeneration of the fight and flight response after that moment is over happens because of your ability to create abstract thought from your storytelling capacity of the brain, which is a function of the prefrontal cortex that runs the movie over and over again. This is your beautiful, intelligent mind working against you. What I'm trying to make a point of is that this regeneration of anger will re-engage neuroception, and you will think that you're actually living the experience. And you don't have to do this level of disservice to yourself, because you're spending precious mental energy into recreating something that is no longer helping you. If you bring this level of neuroception into perception through coaching or other modalities, it will help you break away from that stuck state. Because if you don't keep that level of reaction in check, it can go as far as you avoiding that place altogether, avoiding coffee shops, avoiding service restaurants altogether, or avoiding leaving the house. Because we know in some people that level of pathology happens. And all of this is happening because the brain is making up elaborate stories about how Islamophobia is costing you your life. Your conscious mind is costing you your life. Islamophobia exists independent of you. There are countless practicing Muslims who are creating successful lives in the same society. The difference lies with your perception. Or there might be people out there who thrive at the level of conflict. Then you'll be looking to go to the coffee shop again just to cause a scene. And then there's no judgment. Maybe that's just you. Just understand, if you want to change any of that thought pattern, coaching is always available. So my third objection being, it is helpful to pay attention when the threat is outside in the real world, or when the body is perceiving something as threatening when it is long gone. It is important to notice when you are recreating the threat with your own story-making capabilities, because you can totally stop doing that with practice. The reason I went into so much length of explaining this concept is because majority of the time we are reliving a story of a threat that is not actually happening anymore. And that is the best level of healing that you can provide yourself, if you can walk away from the habitual responses of storytelling. The same level of neuroception creates a bad relationship, let's say, with the weighing scale when you're trying to lose weight, but you've been unable to and the number goes up and down. You create a sense of aversion just looking at the weighing scale. Body will program your reactions in the subconscious in the name of efficiency. And your mind responds with, this is never going to work, I can never lose weight, I don't have self-control, I don't like my body. Then the subconscious mind will program this language in the name of efficiency. And you won't even know that this is happening in the background. Another example is that maybe your body sends you danger cues in face of intimacy with your husband when he approaches you lovingly, because you've been body shamed all of your life. And through this extreme level of action and reaction, an ongoing cycle of neuroception, now a halal act of pleasure becomes unavailable to you. What is happening is when you imagine and reimagine the worst case scenario, then the body says, no worries, no need to recreate the story so many times and waste all of that energy. I'll make this job easy for you, and I'll program these danger signals at the neuroception level so that they're readily available to you next time you think about it. It is fascinating how efficient your body is. But this is exactly why Dr. Bessel van der Kolk wrote a whole book named The Body Keeps Score. Because all of that is being programmed, and all of that can be deprogrammed. So I've tried my level best to demystify the scientific jargon just to make it applicable to your change. And this is what I teach in my coaching program at a much deeper level at Empowered Muslim Women. When I refer to the lower brain and the higher brain through my teachings, I'm referring to the body's brain as well. It is not just the brain in a sense that's a solid organ in your skull. I'm also talking about the brain in your body. When we think of a brain, we think of the organ in the literal sense, but it also includes the nerve that acts like the brain in your body. So let me give you a real life example. We were at Legoland, Florida, which is a kids theme park, and my kids were little at that time. We were all there as a family, and my daughter must have been around 3 or 4. We were walking around. They were sitting in a stroller at times, and other times they weren't. So what we do when we are in crowded spaces is that one parent will walk in the front so we know where we're headed, and the other parent will either walk behind or push the strollers just to take control of the kids. And mostly if they're walking, we're holding hands. But this time, I don't remember what happened. Either she insisted that she let go of my hand, or something happened that she was actually walking behind us. So it was my job to keep an eye on her. And I was frequently turning around just to see that she was there and to make sure that she was there. And the entire time I turned around, she was following diligently. And this was happening for a long time. And maybe because of that, I relaxed a little. I thought to myself, she's right behind me, she's coming. Then my gut brain would say, let's check, make sure nothing is going wrong. And I would turn and she would be there. Then we were walking along and then time came for Salah. We decided that we were going to take a break and sit down and pray. So we made a turn into a somewhat isolated area and we were about 15 feet in and I turned again and she wasn't there. My daughter was not behind me. My heart jumped into my throat. My eyes started scanning the crowd fiercely. My limbs became ready to run. I could feel the rush of adrenaline like 20 espressos had just been injected into me. I immediately got my husband's attention. I started shouting instructions to my older one, who was going to stay on the bench with my younger one, and my hubby and I were going to go in opposite directions looking for her. That you were supposed to shout out the description of the kid instead of the name so people who were far away could actually identify if they saw the person with that description. So my mind was getting ready to shout out her description, pink shirt, black pants, but before I could do that, I spotted her walking in the opposite direction, eating something that we had bought, completely oblivious to the fact that her parents weren't in front of her. Those few moments of my life have been etched into my mind, and for good reason. When I was in that state, I ran like I had never run before, even though a moment before my legs were super tired and hurting from walking in the park all day. Engagement of the fight and flight system played a beautiful role in that moment. My physiology changed immediately. I became equipped to handle that situation. It definitely did not feel good because my heart was ready to pound right out of my chest, but it did serve a purpose. And in this situation, even if something feels bad, served a purpose of a higher brain. If I had froze and collapsed under the pressure of possibly having lost my daughter in the crowd, then my husband would have had to deal with two situations. And that would have been the lower brain in that case, because it would not have served the purpose of helping me find my daughter. And if, after the flight system engagement, I had found my daughter and I were to become extremely scared for her safety from then on, restricting family outdoor activities, avoiding crowded places altogether, or yelling at her out of anger just to pacify myself, those would not have been helpful. And by definition, those would have been the function of my lower brain. And you might have advice for me as a parent, like people can use child harnesses, or people even use like key finder alarms to locate their children. And yes, those are all good measures. But in my defense, she's really not a wanderer. She's very diligent about following instructions. And we did take a few trips afterwards where I made the kids wear a name band. But alhamdulillah, we never had to use that. What I'm trying to tell you is that higher and lower brain optimization, the way I teach, has nothing to do with the structure of the brain or the nerves in the body. The higher brain isn't defined by its location. It's defined by the function it provides. Your body's brain can act like the higher brain if it serves you finding your missing kid. So thinking of the mind and body as separate doesn't only hurt us at the physiological and the biological level. It hurts us in our mental and emotional wellness states as well. And of course, it hurts us in our spirituality. And the last issue I will take with polyvagal theory is that we give neuroception way too much power. We are trying to heal trauma from a definition that it is happening to us and that we're helpless bystanders. Because the automatic nervous system will do what it does, and that does not mean that we have to sit there and take it. The autonomic nervous system only remains active if your consciousness is asleep. All you have to do to override the automaticity of the system is to become aware of this pattern. This information alone will open floodgates so you can exchange information between the conscious and the subconscious at your will, at your command. And this will create a monumental change in your life. Give your higher brain the permission to take control of the system. With that, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, the most kind, that, oh Allah, give us guidance in our journey of understanding the sciences better. Help us utilize this knowledge that you have blessed us with to navigate through our lives with wisdom, patience, and spirituality. Oh Allah, Grant us the strength to handle our emotions and stresses gracefully, and bless us with peace in our hearts and minds. Ya Allah, as we strive to improve ourselves, keep us humble and help us remember that our ultimate success lies in pleasing you, O Allah. Please keep me in your du'as. I will talk to you guys next time. If you're interested in getting coached by me, I'm offering a very affordable opportunity to do that with Wisdom Wednesdays. This is not a course, not a lecture. This is an opportunity for live coaching, real change with Islamic adab and etiquette. You do not need more information. You actually need a space to create change. At $19.99 a month, which is the price of takeout dinner, you as a Muslim woman will create confidence, intimacy, and connection without shame or fear of judgment, because your privacy is my highest priority. So join at www.islamiclifecoachschool.com, resources, Wisdom Wednesdays. I'll see you inside, inshallah.